Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today we're in this Abarth 124 Spider, and as always we're going to try and figure out if it's worth buying. Let's get started. The Abarth 124 was launched in 2016 and it was only in production for 3 years. It of course is based on the Fiat 124 Spider, only this being the Abarth, it's slightly spicier. If we were to use the Nando's spice scale, then this is definitely more peri-peri hot rather than lemon and herb. It certainly sounds as though it's been living off a diet of chili peppers. I mean, listen to this. Sounds so good. I really didn't expect it to sound half as good. It makes all kinds of vulgar noises, but it works. I like it. In case you didn't know, the Fiat 124 was built in partnership with Mazda, so underneath this is basically a 4th generation Mazda MX-5. And you won't need me to tell you that that's no bad thing. The MX-5 is a great car by anyone's standard. For the last 4 decades, Mazda have been fine-tuning the MX-5 to make it as good as it can possibly be, but they're still a little bit safe, a little bit characterless. But Abarth have got hold of it and added some Italian flair and given this car some real soul. Just like the MX-5, this follows a very simple recipe. Engine up front, drive to the rear wheels, and make everything as light as it can possibly be. It's a very good recipe because the result is a superb little sports car. Before you dismiss this as just a rebadged MX-5, it really isn't. It's a whole lot better than that. You see, they don't use the Mazda engine, the 1.5 or the 2 litre. Abarth have put their own engine in it. It's a 1.4 litre 4-cylinder turbo. And while that might sound a little puny, it really isn't. It produces 170 brake horsepower, which is 30 brake horsepower more than you get in the ordinary Fiat 124. And in a car as light as this that doesn't weigh an awful lot, 30 brake horsepower makes all the difference. This little car has a 0 to 62 time of just 6.5 seconds, and it's got a top speed of 144 miles an hour, so it does feel properly brisk. I love the fact that it's turbocharged because although it's only a little 1.4 litre engine, it's full of life. It fizzes and pops, it just feels eager. Yes, there is a tiny amount of turbo lag, but you're going to get that with any turbo. That's me being critical though, because there's never a lack of power with this, and the turbocharger just kind of adds to the theatre of it, adds to the drama. It's a terrific little engine this, and it suits this car perfectly. The fizzy little engine is mated to this superb 6-speed manual gearbox, and it's just so good to use. It's slick and crisp and you get these nice short throws. It really is a joy to use. You also could have bought it as an automatic, but why? I've enjoyed every single MX-5 I've ever driven. Now that's thanks to its excellent chassis and suspension setup. They always seem to handle perfectly. Now in comparison, the little Abarth makes the MX-5 feel like a blancmange. You get a stiffer suspension on this Bucchito Picante version, which improves the whole experience, but weirdly doesn't ruin the ride. I fully expected this car to be way too stiff and firm. I thought the ride would be totally uncompliant, but it's not. It actually rides really nicely for a little roadster like this. It still feels soft enough and supple enough. They've done a really good job. Don't make the mistake I did and think this is going to be hard and jarring like an M Sport BMW, because it certainly is not. I'm quite fussy when it comes to such things. I hate cars with an overly firm ride, but every single time I've used this Abarth 124, I've just thought how good it feels. Even on a boring, pothole-riddled commute, it still rides really well. You've got a fabric top which isn't that well insulated, so sitting here at 70 miles an hour, there is quite a bit of road and wind noise. That's kind of my only complaint though, because the rest of the car's really good. Something else to mention is that this car's got a limited slip diff, so it really feels playful when you want it to be. It's great fun. You see, as I mentioned earlier, I always love driving an MX-5, but I've always got this kind of nagging feeling that it's just a little bit too safe and too sensible. This isn't. The Abarth just offers a bit more fun and frivolity, and who wouldn't want that? Once you wind this up to about 6,000 RPM, it really does get a shift on. It handles really well. You get just the right amount of grip and the steering feels about perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. It's quite an exhilarating driving experience, but it never feels like a handful, and that's the beauty of it. The balance is just right. It's kind of like, it's controlled fun is what it is. Now I'll be honest, I'd buy this car just for the way it drives alone, but thankfully the little Abarth's got even more to offer. Firstly then, you've got the styling. Now I know looks are subjective, but I think it's a really pretty car. It's a really balanced design, don't you think? And again, it's just way more interesting than its Japanese cousin. This electric blue colour really suits it. A lot of Abarth 124s that I've seen on the road out and about in the wild always seem to have a black bonnet, and I've never liked that. I always thought it ruined the styling. Thankfully this one doesn't. I'd much rather have one with a bonnet in the body colour. I just think it looks a whole lot better. From the front, I think it looks good. It's quite a handsome car, but that grille that you get on the Abarth just makes it look a bit more aggressive. You get a nice curvy long bonnet, which I think looks elegant. Moving around the side, you get the Abarth badges on the wings, which help to maintain its sporty image. And then at the back, you've got those quad exhausts, which really make this car look like it means business. I think it's a great design, this, and it's genuinely a pity that it only ran for 3 model years. Moving inside, then again, it's essentially a Mazda MX-5, which is kind of another way of just saying that everything should still work and function in 30 years' time. Given the Abarth was more expensive than both the MX-5 and the Fiat when it was new, everything on the interior is just a bit better. It just feels more upmarket. You get these nice sporty leather seats with contrasting red stitching. You get a nice leather steering wheel and handbrake, and yes, you still get a proper old-fashioned handbrake, not a button. You get an Alcantara gear gaiter and handbrake gaiter. You get more Alcantara here on the dashboard. Everything just feels a bit more premium. It doesn't feel as upmarket as a Z4 or a TT, but it certainly feels more special than its siblings. The leather seats are both comfortable and supportive. They keep you firmly in your place when you're going around twisty roads like this. And the steering wheel feels genuinely nice. It's great fun, this. It's exactly what you'd want from a little weekend toy car. The infotainment screen sort of looks like one that you'd find in a Mercedes, and it's controlled by this rotary dial down here, which is really easy to use and operate. You know, I've been wanting to film with this car for about a week, and the weather's been beautiful. The one day I decided to take it out, you guessed it, it lashes down all day. You get DAB radio, sat-nav, Bluetooth, so it would be quite an easy car to live with on a daily basis. You get a keyless start, which is quite nice. You've got these keyless keys. It's also nicely spec'd. You get a push-button start, heated seats, cruise control, climate control. Well, actually, I would like some cup holders, and Abarth haven't provided me with any, which is a bit annoying. I'd also like a glove compartment. Once again, they've forgotten to put one of those in as well. I also wouldn't mind some storage in the door cards. Still, you get some storage here under this little Alcantara trimmed armrest. There's not an awful lot of space there, but you probably could store, I don't know, a Mars bar maybe? A Lion bar? Picnic? The boot's not a bad size though. That offers 140 litres of space, so plenty of room for a couple of little weekend bags. I like the fact you get a multifunction steering wheel so you can control the audio and answer calls and stuff from it. That's something you don't get on most Porsches. Just to give you an idea, I'm like 5'10", 5'11", 178, 179 centimetres, and I fit in this perfectly. I think if you're over 6'2" though, you might struggle. You might have to drive with the roof down. But still, that's kind of par for the course for a car like this. That won't come as a massive surprise. It is very low to the ground though, as they are, so if you've got a bad back, you might find it difficult to get in and out of. Still, once you're in, there's plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom, plenty of elbow room. It doesn't feel like I'm in a cramped, confined space. I could live with this. Also, you'll be pleased to hear this comes with 4 airbags, so if you do get into a spot of bother, you should be alright. The roof's operated manually, so there are no complicated electric motors that will fail, and it couldn't be easier. All you do is unlatch it and drop the whole thing back. In fact, let me show you. Shall we do it? I think the rain stopped, so... Welcome to summertime in England, folks. Are we ready? Got a transit right on my backside. There we go. I was thinking who beeped, but it was me. The whole thing improves when the roof's down. You can hear much more of that exhaust note. Let's talk running costs then. So in terms of fuel economy, in miles per gallon, this will do low 30s round town and high 40s on a steady motorway run. Once you're in 6th gear, this barely does any revs, so the fuel economy is pretty good. Road tax here in the UK from 2017 onwards is just a flat fee of £190, whether it's a 6-litre V8 or a little 1.4-litre Fiat. So that shouldn't break the bank, but in terms of servicing, this does have a different service interval than the MX-5. The Abarth needs an oil change every 9,000 miles, unlike the MX-5, which I think is about 12. So expect slightly higher cost there, just from its frequency. Personally though, on a high revving little turbocharged engine like this, I'd be changing the oil every 6,000 or 7,000 miles. That way it should be perfectly reliable. I've read lots of owners' reports this morning, and this little 1.4-litre multi-air engine is quite reliable too. Weirdly, it's raining still, and I'm completely bone dry. Used prices here in the UK start at just £15,000, but there's not much choice. It's quite a rare car, this. Due to the fact they only made it for 3 model years, there just aren't that many out there on the used market. Right, this roof's going to have to come up. Should we try and do this? Hang on a sec. How easy was that? Only took one hand. It's a really good little car, this. Can you tell I'm impressed? Going back to the used market, when I had a quick look on Auto Trader this morning, there were only 41 Abarth 124 Spiders for sale in the whole of the UK. So they are quite scarce. To be honest though, I think that's another selling point. This is certainly a future classic. All the ingredients are there. Looks good, sounds good, and only made them in limited numbers. Future classic. You know, whenever I film with an MX-5, I always say something like, if you're looking for a sensible, fun, reliable little roadster, then you can't beat it. But you really can beat it, and this Abarth 124 has proved that. This is exactly what Abarth have done here. They've taken a sensible Japanese car and given it some Italian charisma, and it's paid off. If I were in the market for a car like this, I'd definitely buy one. So I think that's all the praise I can heap on it. It's not perfect, it's not without its faults, but overall, it's a pretty good 8 out of 10. Well, I think that concludes my time with the Abarth 124 Spider. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. I'll leave the links below. Make sure you follow the new channel, by the way. So I set up a new channel called More High Peak. We do 2 videos a week and it's full of behind the scenes content, so check it out. But anyway, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.